We begin today's program with a report of truly amazing creatures, white sharks. Scientists thought that thousands of the large predators swam in the waters off the Cape of South Africa. But new research suggests the number is actually only between 350 and 500. Nets, pollution and overfishing have contributed to the decline. An organization called Save Our Seas is doing what it can to save the remaining sharks.
Shark Alley lies at the southernmost point of Africa. Abundant with marine and bird life, it's home to thousands of Cape fur seals. These marine mammals are a favorite with great white sharks. The predators trawl these waters in large numbers on the lookout for their next meal. Shark Alley is also famous as one of the world's top commercial cage diving destinations. The tourism brings in revenue and also helps support scientific research of the sharks.
The white shark cage diving industry here in Gansbaai has been operating for a number of years. Many of these boats are collecting daily observational data. Now, to better protect an animal, we first have to know something about it. So we can't hope to push legislations at high levels if we don't have that knowledge to first investigate.
Sharks of all species are in need of protection. Almost 100 million are killed each year, too many for the populations to recover. And some sharks are targeted simply because they're perceived as dangerous. But that's an unjustified prejudice. Sharks rarely view humans as prey.
Wow, good shot, good shot.
There are only around 5 shark attacks a year in South Africa. Cage diving operators use bait to attract the sharks to the cages. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thrill for the tourists.
Just their size, the mystique that surrounds them. You know, I don't live near an ocean, and so the only experience that I have with sharks is what I see on TV and in movies, and seeing them firsthand is, I don't think you can compare to anything else. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Recent studies indicate there may be only a few thousand of the iconic great white sharks left in the world. Back on land, Kelly Baker analyzes the latest data with her colleague. Like a fingerprint, each shark has a uniquely shaped back fin. The scientists are interested in the animal's migratory behavior.
Sharks, there's over 500 species, and they are ultimately incredible. They just continue to fascinate, and particularly for me, the great white shark, it's kind of the ultimate, iconic, charismatic, awe-inspiring species, but yet we still have no idea where it breeds and where it mates, despite the amount of telemetric focus it has on it.
Understanding where and when the sharks reproduce is vital for their conservation. Great whites are especially slow to produce offspring, as females need around 30 years to reach sexual maturity and can only mate 10 or 15 times in their lifetime, which is very infrequent for fish species. Long-term conservation success will require a change in the perception of the animals. In nearby Cape Town, the Save Our Seas Foundation invests in shark education. The aim is to introduce school children to the marine environment from an early age.
Kids, they only know that sharks are dangerous, sharks are eating people. So here we're trying to change their minds, we're trying to teach them to know that sharks are not dangerous as they think. Sharks are useful to us people because they keep our oceans in balance, they clean our oceans.
The message of Save Our Seas is clear. Sharks, like humans, rely on healthy oceans to survive. So we need to learn to live with the sea and its inhabitants, not against them. In Shark Alley, marine biologist Kelly Baker is back on the tourist boat. Here, sharks are already celebrated stars.
Whoa! Wow!
We've looked at for so many years, we still know so little about it. So what I would like to do, or what I hope that we can do, is to further our knowledge on this animal, in turn then lead to perhaps a better idea of exactly how vulnerable this species is and what we can do to better protect it.
There's plenty of research still to be done. Besides the charismatic great white, 100 other shark species can be found in the waters of South Africa.
From South Africa, we head to Germany, where there are hardly any intact moorlands left. These natural habitats are very special. Moorlands can store vast amounts of water, so they play an important role in the Earth's water balance.
But all over the world, moorlands are under threat. We take a look at nature conservation projects in Germany aimed at restoring devastated moors, which is supported by the local volunteers.
These conservationists want to save the moorland near Gifhorn in northern Germany. Their most important work right now is uprooting young trees from areas that are too dry. Andre Data of the Nature and Biodiversity Conservation Union, NABU, has been working here for many years and leads the restoration project.
We're removing trees to keep the moorland open. Because it's so dry, the trees will otherwise keep growing and create a forest. Removing trees also reduces evaporation because water isn't being drawn out of the ground.
Uprooting the trees also helps protect the climate. The moorland stores considerably more carbon than forests. Too many trees would dry out the moor and slowly destroy it.
Moorlands are important for biodiversity. There are many rare plants and animals that only thrive on the moors and can't be found elsewhere in the landscape. To protect them, the moors must be maintained. And it's important for the climate because moors store carbon dioxide, which removes it from the atmosphere.
98% of the moorlands in Germany have already been destroyed through peat harvesting, logging, and agriculture. Eva Luthard teaches at the University of Sustainable Development in Eberswalde near Berlin. She's very familiar with the global threat to moorlands.
On the other continents of the world, moorlands are also drying out and being destroyed, but not at the level it's happening in Europe. In Africa, for example, about 20% of moorland in Kenya and Nigeria has been put to agricultural use, making it a source of greenhouse gases. In Indonesia and Southeast Asia, there's a rapid deterioration as moors are being converted into palm oil plantations.
Peat has been harvested here for 200 years. Today it's mainly used as potting soil. That's caused the peat on the moors to decline from a depth of 6 meters to just half a meter. Andre Data and Doris Plenter of NABU are hoping to restore moorlands currently being used for industrial purposes.
Moorlands need peat moss in order for the peat to develop. Peat moss is the most important plant when it comes to replenishing the moorlands. As peat is removed, barren areas are being created that could be replanted. So we're trying to grow as much peat moss as possible so that we can plant it on those barren areas. That will help the moorlands to recover.
To grow peat moss on a large scale, water needs to be returned to the moorland first.
To soak the area, we release the water. There's a board here, and when we remove it, the water flows through and fills the area.
As the moorland revives, it slowly recovers its former biodiversity. Many insect species can only survive on moorland. Peat moss also begins to grow again.
It's great that we were able to take land where all the peat was removed and restore it to a flourishing moorland. When you look down, you can see that the peat moss is growing again. It shows all our work was worth it.
The peat soil here will accumulate at the rate of about 1 millimeter per year, so it's a job that requires a lot of patience. It'll take about 6,000 years for the moorland near Gifhorn to fully recover.